Oh, I should put the gun in his other hand. That looks wonky.
In his non-metallic hand?
That's how I had it, but then when I put Shuri, I should just put Shuri back on him.
Yeah.
I swapped them. They had him posed, like, I love the Bucky dolls, but they, like, do nothing with them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't come with anything but the gun. And so he's just like,
Yeah.
it's fine, I love it. I want the new one.
This gun is not a one-hander.
That's probably a good point. I'll fix that next time. Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 2, Star Spangled Banner.
The Star Spangled Man.
There you go.
Yeah.
So, okay, diving right in.
Okay.
I will say that I was actually finding this episode very irritating until about the midway point.
In what way?
I wasn't caring. It was my fear with the show. I wasn't caring for the.
It is not your vibe of show. That's for sure.
So the banter, the quippy, like dick measury, like stuff, and I just was like, oh my god, guys, I don't want to watch two dude bros.
Yeah.
Like try to man up each other. And
in fairness, they really both did intertwine their legs during therapy.
You know what? Fine. Here. Oh, you happy now?
All right.
I said about the halfway point, I thought, okay, it ended up being way better than I was like, because like I said, I was really like, ooh, this is going to be a rough 5 weeks.
They went like this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is hot scissoring.
But no, there was a couple things that the show really tackled that I was, several things, actually, like 3 I can think of, that I was impressed with and very kind of like, okay, sweet. I feel like this is going to be fun. And I can put up with it, and especially if there's going to be character growth, because that's the thing. I'm like, there's no way these dudes don't end the show being buddies,
of course,
like the best of friends. And
yeah,
and it's like, it's not even that I think it's out of character for Bucky, but it's not the Bucky the kind of like broody macho. Well, the broody is certainly in character.
Is totally, yeah.
But like, he's broody in like a wounded way so far, where in this he's just, I don't know, he's kind of
he's pulling a little bit of an angel.
Yeah,
which
I need a female perspective, which mercifully we're getting from Dr. Raynor. But Sharon Carter cannot get here soon enough.
That is accurate. Here's my other thing. Because I don't want to forget to talk about it. I wish, and I'm sure that we will get there, because that was such a bomb to drop with then just like snark coming back at it from Sam. I cannot believe what Bucky admitted in this episode.
So maybe he was wrong about you, and if he was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me.
That is the most vulnerable thing Bucky has ever said or done.
And I loved that,
yeah.
but I'm going to be a little bit critical. I have a high bar for Marvel, so I'm going to hold it to a high bar.
Sure.
It came real quick. I was sort of like, that could have, I think, it will not unlike WandaVision, when Wanda and Maria Rambeau were sort of like squaring off, and I was like, that scene needed to be double the length in order to get to a revelation like that.
So I don't disagree with you, but I think what's going to be the thing that takes the time of the show is Sam coming back around to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what the journey is about. Like, because I feel like what we know based on where Bucky is right now, what we know about how he's gotten to where he is right now, he has done the work to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Bucky has.
Mm-hmm.
But Sam is still not in a place where he can like recognize any kind of like failing in that arena.
And they're also somewhat competitors. I mean, they both are kind of known as Captain America's sidekick.
Yeah. Well, this episode did not let them forget it either.
I want to talk a little bit about John Walker, and we talked a little bit about it while we were watching the show, but I actually very seriously and from a very poignant part mean it, where I was a little bit confused and intrigued by his character. They're doing a thing where, just to say again, I'm very passionate about the MCU and I hold it to a high bar, and that can work for and against me sometimes. And so it's like, we're doing a thing where this is 6 50-minute episodes.
Yeah.
That's a lot. And also that's not a lot.
Yeah.
So there's a part of me where I'm like, what's your game here? Because the show is instructing us to not like John Walker while at
to
the
not
same
trust him.
Sure. But at the same time, loading, like we had a 5-minute opening scene that was just him.
Yeah.
And it actually, it made me like him, you know? And it's like, I am aware, because I have inside comic knowledge, that his character is quote unquote a villain.
Yeah.
But I was very pleased with the time the show was giving to him.
Yeah.
I was pleased with Wyatt's, because we're big fans of Wyatt Russell.
I like Wyatt Russell.
I have only seen him do like hard comedy.
Me too. Well,
and Black Mirror. But
so he was in this show on AMC called Lodge 49. And it was it was like a dramedy, like where he was funny, but he was sort of like a sad sack that finds this, not really like a Masonic temple, but he kind of finds like a weird thing and he joins this weird group. So it was like a little bit more mixed, but I also cannot take him with that like military haircut.
That's the other thing, is because we know Wyatt Russell looking like this.
Yeah. Like and scruffy.
He looks good.
He looks great, but his chin is comical. It's like
he has
like a
very
Johnny Bravo chin, or like Kronk, or
he has a bit of an under.
Yeah, so he talks from the back of his teeth.
And with the helmet, it really, because people were talking about like they've never seen such a punchable face.
Yeah,
and I think it almost like it makes a like resting spot for your face.
For your fist right there.
It just like,
no, I definitely agree. And that is basically, I mean, Marvel has been like really good at casting the entire time. And so
I think he got shredded.
He did get pretty shredded.
We need to see another shot, because that was.
Let's get John Walker's kid all the way off.
He was boxing. He was,
yeah.
But it was like picture in picture.
Yeah.
And then so we have the scene establishing, and I'll get to them in a second, establishing his girlfriend, presumably, and his best friend partner, presumably. Yeah. Well, that we have confirmation on. And then a interview, a full-fledged Good Morning America interview, Christine Everhart erasure.
Yeah.
I'm going to let that, I was about to say I'm going to let that go.
You're not.
As if I could ever.
Out of your cold, dead hands.
I'm saying I'm going to give up on actually wanting. Like,
sure,
I'll beat the dead horse.
Sure.
But
Leslie Bibb is not busy.
I mean,
let her come here.
She's not like desperate,
but she's not busy.
She'll hop on a plane.
She's busy as being Sam Rockwell's hype woman. They introduce his girl and his friend.
And then we go to that interview, and he had a really great interview. He had poignant questions, and like, why are you looking at me like this? He answered all of the questions, like really thoughtfully.
No.
And then he did.
No, it's too rehearsed.
Because meanwhile, you and Will are like, this son of a bitch.
I don't have the flashiest gadgets. I don't have super strength. But what I do have is guts.
You son of a bitch!
And then it cuts to Bucky and Sam, and they're like, why are you
son of a bitch?
And he's like, I just want to do the best job I possibly can. And like, I don't know.
He's got to go.
I believe that. I believe that we will get to that place. But I'm just a little bit sort of like, I mean, and maybe it's for like the 5% of the audience that's a sucker like me. But I'm sort of like, they're really conflicting me. And so by the end, by him and what was his part, Lamar Hoskins, the Battlestar. I was like, did you give yourself, are we just giving ourselves names?
Well, he literally says his name is Battlestar, and Bucky is like, stop the car, I'm getting out. And I was like, okay.
I just thought they were being rude. I thought Bucky and Sam were being really rude.
I think this speaks to the larger issue that's happening in this world and behind the scenes in this world is Bucky and Sam knew Steve. Bucky and Sam loved Steve. You know, Bucky knew Steve for 70 years. You know, that's a whole different. So to just see this guy who's so obviously a poser, he doesn't have the serum, even though he was throwing that shield like he did. It's just severing spinal cords left and right.
Well, and furthermore, because he caught Lamar, he like threw the shield and caught Lamar. Yeah. And I was like, I'm just not entirely sure that's how physics work.
Yeah. Because then it's sort of, it's insisting that the shield has magical properties as opposed to just being made of vibranium.
It absorbs.
Okay.
Vibranium. It absorbs. Because remember, Cap fell out and landed on the shield. He fell like 10 stories, but also Cap's super.
Yeah, exactly. So I got questions about that. But I think that speaks to the larger thing where like I said, they are just watching this poser just step into the shoes of their best friend. And it's like, that's going to ruffle some feathers.
And my point is, from this vantage point, it seems like we're going to actually explore some of these places.
Which I'm excited
about. I am too, but I'm also tempering because I don't want to get, like, what do the painted backdrops mean in WandaVision? Like, I don't want to go to a place where I'm expecting too much from, or like, who's the name in the credits? Like, and yes, by the end, he really was coming off, both of them. They were really coming off like, I'll go ahead. I was going to say cops, and I was like, I don't need to be.
Well, the cops were coming off like cops in this episode, too. But no, they just were. It was very just like really grossly patriotic. It, like, you know, that gross patriotism.
Yeah, but even more so, like, they were overly familiar.
Well, sure,
with
overly
Bucky
familiar.
and Sam at the end, and we are the man.
Sure, and also, let's just throw it out here. Bucky and Sam Sam almost gets arrested because these weird Baltimore cops think that he is harassing Bucky. What do you have?
I have a whole thing planned.
Oh, you have a whole thing planned? Okay.
Planned.
All right, well, let's get into
it. I want to talk, and this is right up my alley. This is exactly my place to speak.
Oh, probably that means no.
I'm really impressed, and I am appreciating what they are doing with the characters and the for lack of a better word, because I want to be authentic, but I also, like I said, I mean, I don't want to speak in a term, but there's a lot of Black people on this show, and I really like that. I like the Sam's family. Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting that John Walker also has a sidekick who's like a Black man and
a girlfriend, or I think maybe she was like an old high school girl. I don't know if they're still together, but they knew each other.
Love you.
Love you.
If we're going to follow through on that in any capacity, there are implications here that I would love for Marvel to actually follow through.
Yeah.
That scene, and this is the precise moment that turned the episode completely, like, for me, was when Bucky brought Sam to meet Isaiah.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And it cued something in for me. Because the kid on the Baltimore street called him Black Falcon.
Yeah.
And he was like, that's not my name. I'm just Falcon. Mm-hmm. And he was like, is it because I'm Black? And he ended up making a joke about it.
So are you like Black Kid? I got him, right?
Whatever, man.
I think that through line is going to go through the entire show.
Yeah.
And I think that might even be be a big reason as to why he refused the shield, is because I think that
Black Captain America.
Yeah. Where on the one hand, that's great. We want that. That's amazing, these strides.
But on the other hand,
the person that has to do it, the person that has to take the first step, usually ends up being literally or figuratively a martyr.
Yeah.
And it's like, if we actually go
like
there
Steve, twice. Yeah.
If we actually go there with Marvel, it's so amazing because, and it is important. It's not, I hate when people talk about like identity as if it's a political point, because it's not, it's real. And when something as massive and prominent as Marvel not only acknowledges something, but explores it's really cementing as this is real. This is something that exists in the world, and it can't be undone. You cannot be ignorant of it if, our superhero movies are talking about it. And so the fact that Isaiah exists, number one, what happened to him, which, I mean, that was a short scene, but the implications of it were staggering.
It was a very like Tuskegee testing thing.
He said that he was imprisoned, and we don't know what that means, but he was a super soldier in 1951
in the Korean War. Yeah.
And so the fact that he existed, number one, number two, what happened to him, number three, that no one knows about him. And it was so stunning what they did in that scene. And then to follow that up with the scene of them fighting in the street with the cops showing up.
You're right. The episode does pick up there, because that's when it sort of like everything flows into the next thing after that point, because Sam almost gets arrested because he's fighting with Bucky, even though Bucky's like, it's fine. And they both are like, we're just talking. And it's just that automatic thing that you always see in all of the stuff where the white cop is just like only looking at the black guy, and it's horrible.
Where's your ID, buddy?
Where's your ID? Why are you? Just calm down. It's just so gross. And then Bucky finally has to be, which is also gross, that he has to be the one to be like, do you know who this man is? And that's when the other cop is like, these are Avengers. And it's like only at that point when they're like, oh, we'll get in trouble if we arrest these Avengers.
It cements that Sam is a black man first.
Yeah. 100%.
He's Sam second.
Yeah.
And then he's Falcon and an Avenger. So it's like you can be that powerful and that famous and that accomplished. And it just like it for whatever reason, it really shook me. It was really, and I think maybe it was the subtlety. Maybe if it was heavier, because I mean, it
was pretty heavy.
It wasn't subtle, but it could have been. Yeah. It was not subtle, but it could have been worse, and it could have been longer and more indulgent. I think is what I'm trying to say.
And then you were like, you sort of snickering, and you were like, "Do you?" Because then Bucky gets arrested because he missed his therapy session, and you just were like, "Oh, the irony!" And I was like, "No, I obviously get it," but. Then the point I was initially going to make is what's gross about the new Captain America, about John Walker and his partner, is that as they are coming out of the precinct after they've had this court-mandated couples therapy with Dr. Rayner, which is hilarious, in order to get their attention, he turns on the lights and siren from a cop car?
Gentlemen.
Gross. So inappropriate. I just was like that episode of Queer Eye where they like orchestrated it to pull Karamo over in Georgia, and I was
they were at a precinct.
Yeah, but still gross. That's a gross first thought. Like that's your first instinct to do that. I don't like it.
And frankly, my favorite Marvel movie to this point, actual movie wise, is Winter Soldier. Yeah. And Winter Soldier had a way of tackling, these kind of, well, it's a political thriller, these hot button issues and addressing surveillance and government and intrusion and all that, but through the lens of a comic book and a political thriller, blah, blah, blah. And so the thought that they might do that with this show is really, I am very pleased, because I said I like Sam a lot.
Yeah, same.
And I really, really want to explore him. And I mean him.
Yeah.
His person. Not
Falcon.
His, well, yeah, but not his like quippy banter and not his like machismo. That's the least.
And that's why I think that scene where Bucky got that vulnerable is going to come back around with Sam being equally vulnerable about something, because I think that, like, the commentary on being a black man in America is obviously that is helpful towards that. But I think he has to be personally vulnerable as Sam in order to like really connect with Bucky. And I think in a way that like, I hope the therapy comes back. That was truly hilarious.
I really like her. She knows John Walker. She worked with him.
Yeah.
She's another one that I love, and I'm also slightly concerned for. I mean this as a both a compliment and a slight dig, but especially in the beginning, it was giving me like the Netflix Marvel, like the Punisher.
Yeah, sure.
Daredevil vibes.
Well, I said it before, she reminds me of Robin Weigert in Jessica Jones. So.
And so it was the kind of thing where I was like, oh, I love her. I was like, I hope she's on the show. And then I was like, but also I'm a little bit concerned. Yeah. She could be used against Bucky.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Probably.
It seemed like he kind of left. So I'm sort of hoping that this isn't the last of it. But I mean, we only do have the 6th episode.
I doubt this is the last that she's in, because I feel like they have another session. I feel like I remember preview stuff where they're sitting on a couch together.
But also, I mean, they established that she was a soldier, so I mean, it would not be completely out of pocket if she like had a action scene or a gun or something at some point.
For sure. I do also agree with you. Sharon Carter cannot get here fast enough.
Come on, girl. They name dropped her.
They did.
Her title card is in the credits. We just haven't gotten.
It was last week too, yeah.
We mentioned White Wolf. I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
He had amazing White Wolf concept art for, I think, Infinity War that ended up not being used. Yeah. What is the GRC? They kept talking about the GRC.
The Global Repatriation Council does all that. I get that.
Because we have the other plot.
It was like the Global Reintegration something. Okay. It's like for the people that came back from the blip. There's like a whole global thing to like reintroduce
Carly Kloss, or what's her name? Carly
Montothau something.
They're like,
I am like interested, but I don't care yet. Yeah.
I feel like they're a thing to get to a thing.
Yeah. She's got a very cool whole thing going on. She's very freckly. I dig it. I dig her aesthetic.
Very late stage America's Next Top Model contestant.
Ooh, yeah, okay.
Again,
she's too short though.
I was gonna say again, compliment and also backhand. I don't know. Sorry, I don't mean to be shady about that.
I'm not having an issue with like the performances, but I just like I don't care.
I don't really. I mean, it's an interesting point because it goes back to our conversations with Thanos and the Endgame and the blip and everything. Because we're also kind of like, no.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe the world was a little bit better with half of these fuckers gone.
Thanos made some points, is all I'm saying. No, but I do think I think something like this would probably happen, but I also am sort of like, just fucking get over it, man. Like, they're back.
I think 4 billion people coming back. It's also the 5 years later.
5 years.
It's not like 5 months later.
For sure.
Like,
no, I agree.
Because they still haven't addressed.
People mourned, people moved on. I get it.
They still haven't addressed that it appears the people that blipped, that disappeared, did not age.
Correct.
So it would be like if I blipped, my brother didn't, and he's older than me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a weird dynamic.
They address it in Spider-Man in Far From Home.
Well, they acknowledged it.
Yeah.
But
they didn't like, yeah, you're right. They didn't
there has yet to be any. I mean, I guess 5 years is also, it's like, it's a perfect amount of time to be long enough, but not too long.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I mean, if I told you I was 30, and then if I told, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm 30, 35, 40. I mean, I don't know. Sure. Don't use me. I'm a bad example. I'm a plebe. Use a movie star.
You use a hot person.
Yeah. So I ultimately got the drum line. That was great. The opening credits.
Drum lines are always. I'm always here for a drum line.
So and it looks really good. I was a little bit aware that we were green screening the fight on the truck.
Oh,
I was
sure.
like, couldn't use the Mandalorian stages for this one. But it's fine. It's fine.
Here's my issue. I would like for James Buchanan Barnes to stop getting thrown off of moving vehicles at speed. Would love it if that would stop happening.
Oh, and we're going to find Zemo.
Yes. Last shot of the episode is Daniel Bruhl's handsome
German
ass face. Yeah.
So I think that's good. Is that about?
I think that was it. All right. We'll be back for next week.
I like zippers. That opening shot of the zipper.
You gonna put that in here?
Yeah, it was kind of sexy.
He thinks he hasn't always thought clothes are sexy.
Well, okay. Chains and whips excite me. Na 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 na.